Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and I'm here to bring you guys a new Bleach Chapter 543 prediction. And man, for this Bleach prediction, I actually really wanted to put up my Bleach poster like really bad. I mean, as you can see, I have my Naruto one right here, and I'm holding my Bleach one right here. But I actually ran out of tape. I actually can't find any more tape in my house right now, so I'm going to have to like run to the store and actually get some so I can put it up in the background. You know, I think it would look pretty nice. But anyway, just jumping this week's chapter of Bleach. This chapter this week, for the most part, was really quick. I mean, it was just like that. But it actually, served its purpose, and it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, the chapter revolved around Ichigo finally getting his Shikai. I expected that we were actually going to see the true, or we did see the true Zangetsu, but I thought we were actually going to see another figure. But pretty much in the beginning of the chapter, Ichigo starts pondering on about, again, how many times Zangetsu's helped him, or I should say Juha Getsu has helped him in a way, and how he, that he went through all the trouble, even, when Ichigo would be getting ready to spill his own blood, that, he prevented that, and, how Ichigo's been there. So pretty much he was saying that he considers them both to be Zangetsu, whether or not they consider themselves to be Zangetsu. And then it's at that moment, of course, where Ichigo, returns to the present, and he reaches into the flames that Oetsu was forging his blade with, and rips his sword out. It completely, the entire area is I think it's like the water, like a lot of the ocean's water, which is completely evaporated from the heat of his Ryatsu. And then from that point on, we saw Ichigo holding two different blades, which Oetsu referred to being both to be Zangetsus, the two Zangetsus. And of course, that makes Ichigo now a dual-bladed swordsman, or I guess a dual-bladed Shinigami, or whatever you guys want to refer to him as. Obviously Ichigo is a Shinigami, but Shinigamis for the most part are swordsmen as well. So you see Ichigo holding two different blades now. And, one resembles his original Shikai state, except it has a little slot that can actually break swords. In case some of you guys didn't know that, that's what that slot is for, because when swords are made like that, and I actually didn't know that until this week's chapter. One of my friends actually told me that's when you have a slot in a sword that actually can be used to break swords. So I like to see Kubo actually do something like that with Ichigo's sword. But yeah, one Zangetsu has a little slot in it, and the other one's a small blade. The larger one represents his Shinigami and Hollow powers, while the smaller one represents his Quincy powers, or the Old Man. And, of course, we see Ichigo thinking about them. So he's basically telling Zangetsu, look, I no longer will ask for you to, lend me your power. I no longer will tell you to get out of my way. And I'll no longer ask you to fight with me. Because at the end of the day, you are me. I fight alone from this point forward. So that was pretty much the majority of the chapter. And then, the chapter actually was called, I think, The Blade is Me. So, it took care of its purpose. The title actually really means something. And then the cliffhanger of the chapter covers, of course, the Vandenreich. Finally seeing them flashing back to Juha Bach. And Juha Bach is walking onto the stage. All the Quincy's are saluting to him. And then, he said the Stern Reader has arrived. And then they have some kind of message to convey to him. And that was pretty much the end of the chapter of Bleach. Oh, man. Now, the reason why I felt like this chapter moved really quick is because, mainly, we finally get to see what Ichigo's Shikai was like. But I kind of felt as though the previous chapter was a little misleading in terms of what actually, was said before that. Juha Getsu, or I guess you can technically say Zangetsu still, he told Ichigo, look, this is the true Zangetsu. And he was holding it in his hands, and he said, take it, I've been suppressing your Shinigami side this entire time. So I was figuring there was going to be a third being that would make an appearance. Now that is a nice twist that Kubo made, but it still kind of turns, I was a little disappointed. I actually wanted to see someone else show up that we haven't seen. I was, looking forward to a new, interesting character to make an appearance. But then at the same time, it is cool that Ichigo finally is one with himself, and it raises some questions for me. Now that, Ichigo is considered, or I guess you could say he's one with himself, since he is considering him and the blade to be one being, since it is his power, I wonder if the Quincy sword can he actually use, like, fully use Quincy powers now? Does he know how to actually, did he gain all the knowledge from his Quincy side, like the Quincy, I guess you say Juha Getsu, does he have knowledge on how to use all his Quincy powers? And if so, does Ichigo know how to use them? If that's the case, it's a little weird to me, and I kind of don't like that. I actually want Ichigo to go and do Quincy training from the ground up, but that's just my opinion. I'm kind of also questioning whether or not he really will, even if he does know a few Quincy moves, will he ever go through anything, any kind of Quincy training, or is he just going to kind of maybe use a holy arrow here and there, maybe just mainly blood vein for defensive purposes? Also, I'm excited to actually see him actually get into a fight, because we know he's going to be overpowered now. Definitely seeing now he's a dual-bladed swordsman, so he should be able to. He's going to have to change the way his swordsmanship skills are, definitely, because it's when you have two different swords, you have to act as if they're one, rather than if you're just swinging with one blade. But it also means Ichigo be able to be a lot more crafty. Before Ichigo, of course, he was a lot more predictable with his moves. Now he should be able to. I actually am expecting to see maybe a dual wielding Getsuga Tensho. He's doing double Getsuga Tenshos, maybe a Getsuga Tensho Tornado or something, crazy. I also want to know if since he has, I guess he's become one with Zangetsu, does that also mean that he holds all of the knowledge of all of his abilities that Zangetsu holds? Now that he's undergone all of this. So, I have a lot of those questions in terms of more of his power scheme, what he knows, but those answers will obviously come with time. Mainly the problem I have is the fact that I feel like it was a little misleading in terms of this chapter. I thought we should have saw probably some, other character, some other figure. Otherwise, I don't think the cliffhanger really, from the previous chapter, led us on to really think anything otherwise. And I don't know, the pacing again, it was really quick, but it did its purpose, so I'm not going to complain about that too much. The end of the chapter definitely was a great cliffhanger, because I'm wondering if Juha Bach actually knows whether or not Ichigo got this huge power-up, or is a Stern Ritter coming to convey some other message to him. Some people speculate that Juha Bach is up on this stage to tell them, hey, I'm inviting Uryu, this is, he's your brother, he's joining you in arms. I've heard that thing for some other reviewers. So, that's a great possibility as well. But, the cliffhanger, good. Beginning, to the end, beginning to that point, good, except I didn't like the fact that we didn't get actually, another figure or another character to make an appearance. And if I were to make one more small itty-bitty criticism, but I almost feel like I'm nitpicking right here, I think that, a lot of the things that Ichigo was saying about him being the blade and, them being one seemed a bit obvious, so I don't really feel like Kubo really needed to spend that much time on it. But at the same time, it was enjoyable, and, it took care of finally seeing his new Shikai form, so I don't really feel like it was a bad chapter at all. So I don't want to nitpick too much. But, I think it was a pretty decent chapter this week. If I were to give it a rating, I don't think it was an amazing chapter. There was no big reveals. There was nothing. The chapter didn't have a ton of content in it. So I don't think it deserves anything. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a captain rating this week, but it's definitely not like a human rating or anything like that. I'm trying to think. When's the last time I've seen something that I could even maybe make that assumption that or actually make that claim that it would be that low? But this week I'm going to just go ahead and give it a vice captain rating. Bleach has been consistently good for a while, and I think this isn't a bad chapter. It's pretty much just an average chapter. Finally seeing the two Zangetsus. I enjoyed it a lot. Don't get me wrong, seeing the two Zangetsu. I thought like that was very exciting, but in terms of what actually went down in this chapter, nothing too major except for just seeing that, which has been building up over time these past couple weeks. And again, cliffhanger good. What I plan on seeing, or what I think we're going to see maybe in, I'd probably say, the next chapter, we may get a little bit of the Vandenreich a little bit. I'm not too sure, only because the way it kind of ended off, I feel as though they could just skip to something else. So we may get a few pages of the Vandenreich next week, hearing a little bit of what Juha Bach is going to say, see him maybe starting to gear up. I would actually like a whole chapter focused mainly towards the Vandenreich, but I know that's probably not going to be in the works. Maybe, You know, like maybe see where Uryu's coming from. Hopefully he makes maybe a little bit of appearance next week. But probably part of the chapter next week, the Vandenreich and Juhabak will be covered. And then maybe we'll flash back over to Soul Society. Also, I want to let everybody know, I have a theory video coming up. Some of you guys may have already heard me say this theory in the Otaku Battle Dome, but it actually has to do with Juhabak and the Spirit King. So I'm going to go ahead and try to probably put this video out sometime within the next week. Also, I want to let everybody know, too, the Japan videos are still underway. I'm going to put them up. You know, I mean, I've got plenty of them still on my computer that need to be edited. Some of them actually are done, but I kind of wanted them in a certain order. I mean, now, if you guys really just want them to come out right now, I can release them out of order. And, you know, obviously, I'm going to release the ones that are done, and, you know, you guys can enjoy them that way. You know, maybe a little out of sync, or some of the things I may say may not make sense, you know, because I know there's a few things here or there that I may have talked about, like, you know, oh, I'm going, like, there was one time where I was going to, I enjoyed my trip in Kyoto while I was in Tokyo, so you may hear little things like that. But anyway, this pretty much isn't the time to be talking all about my trip to Japan. Obviously, this is the Bleach video. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to go ahead and rate it. So if you did like this video, please put a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, you can put a thumbs down if you want to, I should say. Also, I would say subscribe again if you enjoy it. And that is it. So I will see you guys next week for another prediction. And don't forget to watch the Otaku Battle Dome next week Friday. It's not this week Friday, next week Friday. And yeah, that's it. So see you later.